and welcome back to my channel Lady T. My name is Natalie and today we are going to talk about The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. If you hear some rain in the background, and that's because I'm on vacation, but I really want to talk about this book, so we're going to do that right now. Before we start and before the intro starts, I would like to mention that this book does contain, and I don't know how to say this without triggering you, it is about taking one's own life. So if you are triggered by that, or if you know that it triggers something with you, then don't watch. There are plenty of other videos to watch. Let's get started. So first things I want to say, I will tell you when there are spoilers for the plot of the book or something, but I will probably forget, so this review is not spoiler free. I will try to remember when I'm editing this to put a big spoilers flash in here, so when there are spoilers that you'll know. But what I thought about the Midnight Library, to me, it was amazing. It really was. That was my neighbor who's vacation here next door. There's a chicken here that just likes to roam around. I call her Chiquitita, and they love her. So yeah, sorry. Let me first say that what I really loved, because this book does contain our lead character Nora suffers from depression and decides at some point very early on in the book to sadly take her own life, or at least try to take her own life. And that's how she ends up in this Midnight Library, which, okay, spoilers, hi. So the story is that she's when she is not really dead, but like in in-between state, in limbo, she comes in this library with her old librarian, which she had a good relationship with, and she basically tells her, like, you can try out some other lives, but they are her own life. Like, every time you make a decision, there's a theory that your life splits in different sections, that there are, what would you call it, different universes, something like that. So every choice she makes or didn't make, there is a version of her that did live through that choice. So she gets to try those out and decide which one she would like to stay in. And basically, if she finds one, then she will forget about her own old core life from which she came, and she starts living that life. But she never really feels fulfilled in them, because she feels guilty for taking someone else's place, even though it is kind of her, but it's not really. And I really connected with Nora because I have suffered from depression right now. I'm probably in a burnout, but that's still being talked about. So what made this a really good book to me, that her depression wasn't there just as a kind of gimmick. And it was also not what defined her. What I mean by that is that, yes, she suffered from depression and all the signs were there, so they were talked about in a really good way, not glanced over like, oh yeah, she has that, by the way, that's a character trait, which is not, because some books do that. But Matt was really good, at least in my opinion, in this book to really dive into what it means to have a depression and how you look at life from that perspective. So after that I googled him and I found out that he himself has dealt with depression, and you can really tell that he understands, or that he has suffered from it himself, because you can just feel like this character is more believable than a writer who hasn't necessarily experienced itself but also didn't do the right research and then tries to write a character that is depressed. So really, that is what I found very admirable, that he was able to do such a good job, at least for me. Nora, in my mind, was really interesting. I just kept picturing her. You have this beautiful cover for another book called The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, and every time I read about Nora, I was just thinking, like, I saw that picture of that book in front of me as I was thinking about her. I don't think that that's her because she has apparently different hair color and everything, but that is just who she reminded me of, and I thought it would be funny to share because sometimes, or most of the time, when you read about a character that, and if the writer is doing a good job, that person comes to life to you. So for me, Nora came to life in the form of Nina Hill. What I found really good about the book is that you can see the struggle with Nora trying to get a different look on life, and it's very clearly from the start where the book is going to go. Like the plot, there are no surprises there, I will say that, but it didn't take away from the strength of the book, I think. Was it the best book written? No. There was a point in time where some of the scenes you could play through, some of the lives were really in depth, and then at some point it got to they were just naming everything up and just like summarizing everything. So I was like, okay, so now we're going to dive into the final life that she's going to try out, and then we're going to the end, to spoiler, where she finds out that her old life wasn't as bad as she thought, so she's going back. So yeah, that was maybe a bit like, okay, you could see that coming from miles ago. But yeah, and I kind of missed some character development in that middle. At that point when they got to the summarizing part, I was like, she jumped from not really understanding where she was supposed to go to the summarizing, and then suddenly she was, at least to me as a reader, she was so much more mature and more like, okay, I'm supposed to know how I should be happy with my life right now. I'm not that definite, but you know, there was, for me at least, such a leap in who she was as a character that I kind of missed some character development there in the middle. And I think that could have been done a little bit better, but I still really liked reading the book. Matt has a really easy flowiness to his writing that really gripped me and had me entertained. But as I wrote my review on Goodreads, I saw that some people didn't, and that's always the case with every book. I mean, it gets hyped up into the air, high up into the air, but there's no book I think that's for everyone, where not a single person was like, I hate it, or I don't like it, or meh. So don't expect to like every book only because people like it. And that is what I have to say. Good that this is a book with a summary of the book on the back. There, on the back. There are also some other people praising him, and then I'm like, I really don't care about the other people praising him. I want to know if I'm going to like it. Then you can say, yeah, but if you, for example, Neil Gaiman left praise, and I like his writing, so then maybe you will like it. Yeah, great. But I didn't pick up the book because it said Neil Gaiman on the back. I picked up the book because I thought the front looked really good, because I always read the first couple of pages and the writing gripped me. I don't need other people who are supposedly famous, of course Neil Gaiman is, but you know what I mean, who I've never heard of, like, oh, this is an amazing book, and then no summary on the back. So luckily there is a summary. Well, a summary, it's a quote from the book, let's be honest, and then on the inside you have a more of a summary. What happened to the summaries on the back of books? Tell me. I think it's a good story, at least for me, because I've been, as I said earlier in this video, I've kind of been struggling with a little bit what feels like a burnout, or at least very stressed. And the book really made me think about, like, what do I really want out of life? Like, the characters kept asking Nora, what do you really want to do? And not what does everyone else want you to do in life, but what do you want to do? And I think that's, for me at least, where I keep getting stuck in life, where I don't allow myself to pursue what I want to do, but what I think that I should be doing. So after I read this book, I had a whole day thinking about it, a bit more silent, and last night my partner and I, we talked about it. And he was surprisingly very supporting, and he was like, I just want you to be happy. So if you need to do something that maybe brings in less cash, but it makes you more happy, then I'm completely supportive of you. And I know I'm very lucky because not everyone has that option. But so for the next year, we're going to try that if it works for both of us. But yeah, that book really made me think about that, and I realized that not everyone, that some people may find it a bit too spiritual. So if you don't like to think about that sort of stuff in life or spirituality or afterlife, then this book is really just not for you. Even if it's really well written, if that is just a genre that you don't like, then just skip this book. But for me, it really triggered something to think like, okay, what do I want to do? And I think that's what he meant to do with this book. Even if you're in a state of depression or when you're kind of giving up on life, to put it kind of mildly, to really think like, what do I want to do? And like I said, I know that not everyone is in the position to go after their dreams. People always say go after them, but you can't always do that. Sometimes you don't have the funds, sometimes you don't have the right support system. That's all very possible. But for me, this really triggered me into taking a couple steps back and being like, okay, where do I want to go? Because last year, especially during my third year in social work studies, I was like, why am I doing this? Is it for me? No, I'm doing it because I can help others. But do I get enjoyment and fulfillment out of it? No, not one bit. So why am I doing this? Why am I wasting my own time and not being happy and just feeling stressed all the time? So I stopped that, but I will talk about it in another video because we're reviewing the book right here. But that is what I thought about the book. So just to summarize, I felt understood as someone who has struggled with depression and is going through something similar right now. I felt like it wasn't diminished, but that it also didn't, the depression itself didn't become a character trait. That it was something she worked through. I felt that the story was sometimes a little bit rushed, especially in the middle with her character development. She reminded me of Nina Hill from The Book is Life of Nina Hill, just still funny to me. And the question, what makes you happy? And that's what I want to leave this book with. So let me know what you thought. If you've read the book, what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. But also the question that I want to ask you, which you can answer. Don't feel obligated to answer that, because it can be very personal. But the question on the back, would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? You don't have to comment that because it can be very personal and maybe it will trigger something for you. But that's the question I want to leave you with, and my answer, because that's only fair. I wouldn't. Basically, since I felt young, you get that question, that fun question, where people are like, who would you be if you could be anyone in the world? And my answer has always been, I want to be myself. Because even though I didn't have the best upbringing or the most loving environment when I was young, I'm happy with who I am and I'm proud of who I am. So I don't want to be anyone else. I'm happy with who I turned out to be, and I'm happy with the chances that I got, and I don't regret the decisions that I made. I've grown from them as a person. And at that time I felt like they were the right choice, so I don't want to kind of sweep myself onto the floor, or my older selves like, you made a bad decision. Like, no, at the time you thought it was the best thing to do and you made calculated decisions. So I'm proud of the decisions that I made, even if other decisions would have maybe helped me get into another life, but I'm happy where I am. So with that being said, I hope you have an amazing day, and if someone hasn't told you today that they love you, I do, and I care about you. Have a good day. Goodbye.